Okay, so Franziska, welcome to the Unsustainable YouTube channel. It's so wonderful to have you on here and speaking with me.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Christy.
So, I have had the privilege of knowing you for a while now, and your incredible story to creating your slow fashion activewear brand, Tripulse. So, I think it's appropriate to perhaps start then with your journey to slow fashion activewear because you're not from a traditional fashion background, are you? Your path has been
No.
slightly different to perhaps other slow fashion activewear founders. So I think I'd love to know from you that sort of eureka moment, that tipping point where you thought, I need to change careers. I need to change paths and I need to pursue this dream that I have to create Tripulse.
I mean, that's a really great question. And I think in the end of the day, it was like a lot of, moments and experiences coming together that in the end made me start Triples. But as you already said, I don't have a conventional, fashion background at all. So I actually have a background in international business. I worked in big tech companies before I started Triples. So I was really working for some of the biggest, IT corporations in the
Mm,
world for a good few years. But the more I worked in these kind of corporations, the more I realized that I'm very much drifting away from what I felt I should really, what I was kind of chosen to do in this world. And the way I felt that in me was that I just felt more and more uneasy in myself and really felt like reached a point of near burnout in my career and also felt something I was really heading more and more in the wrong direction. I had, very good salary, had a successful job and everything, but how
mm,
it often goes for a lot of people, I felt inside more and more misaligned. And so to bring a stop to that and to get a redirection, what I decided to do is to take a career break and what every responsible person would do, right, in that situation. So I actually packed my bags and traveled on my own to Asia for a couple of months just
amazing.
to reset and to really, yeah, as cheesy as it sounds, to do soul searching, to really figure out what I want to do with my life. And yeah, like how your story, your question was, how did I end up with Triples and creating a slow fashion activewear brand? I've been always very passionate about sports and movement. Like since I'm very, very small, it has been naturally always a part of my life. I was always very, yeah, passionate about nature, loved to be in nature, yeah, like, and felt also more and more passionate about the environment and a strong need to protect it as I could see, yeah, where it's heading to. Um, and so when I had the time to reflect and to really, yeah, calm down, slow down in Asia, I felt deep down I wanted to create my own business, also utilizing my background in business, but then also combining that with my passions of sports, movement, and
Mm,
sustainability in nature. And one problem for me came up very fast, which was that the very clothes I was wearing almost every day, which is activewear, was actually something that I never enjoyed. And for me, it was mostly because I oftentimes got some itchy skin and rashes when I started to work
mm,
out a little bit harder. And I felt very, yeah, just itchy, smelly, just always wanted to get rid of my clothes very fast when I had them on me. But I kind of always accepted it. I just thought that's, how activewear is. Never, had a second thought on this. But when I had the time in Asia, I actually started to be very curious and to look at what is actually on the label, what's actually in my clothes, because I did the same thing already for food. I did the same thing for cosmetics. Was really cautious already about what I put into my body, clean ingredients, no processed food, ideally, vegetarian, and all these kind of things. I did the same with cosmetics, using natural versus, having ingredients that I don't understand. But for clothing, I somehow always ignored it fully until that point when I really, yeah, had a closer look, and I looked at all the labels of my activewear and I saw, okay, polyester, basically everything is polyester or nylon. And then that's where it basically started. I took like a huge start into research I did, and yeah, figured out obviously these materials come from crude oil, petroleum. They're fossil based. I think a lot of we all know how they're made, and that it's obviously very far from being sustainable. I learned
Hmm.
about all these oftentimes toxic ingredients that are also utilized in order to make these materials and add certain finishings. And obviously about the microplastic. Every time we wash activewear,
Yes.
and I washed my own clothes, I'm actually contributing to microplastic pollution. And because they smell also very fast, I actually have to wear them often. So I contribute a lot to microplastic pollution. And I was just thinking, this is crazy. I mean, I work out to be healthy, and I certainly don't want to cause any problems to my health or the environment. But I'm actually doing this day in and day out. And this was really like, yeah, like epiphany for me, or this eureka moment where I thought, wow, I need to find an alternative. Is there anything I can swap or switch to? But I couldn't find it. Like the only alternatives I could find was maybe cotton. But cotton also comes with its disadvantages, especially if you want
Yes.
to be more active and sweat more. So, and then recycled versions of polyester or plastics, but also that doesn't solve these issues I was just talking about. And putting all of that together, I decided very, very strongly I'm gonna create the solution. I didn't know how I'm gonna do it, but I just was very, very, very convinced I'm gonna do it, and for myself, but also for all the other people I spoke to, and who also said they want a much healthier, cleaner, natural solution for activewear. And yeah, that was the starting point. And here we are, I think that was 2019. And so here we are 6 years later. And the
6 years
solution is out.
later. Yes. Well, I work with you, Franziska, and it is an inspiration to watch you and learn from you because it can't be easy setting up a slow fashion brand in such a plastic based consumer world. And to do what you do and to make a success of it, I think it's really inspirational and it should be celebrated. So, thank you for sharing your story with us. Um, I think what I'd like to touch on more then is the with activewear and the potential health risks associated with wearing activewear, synthetic activewear in particular. And as you mentioned, by synthetic, we mean materials such as polyester and nylon, spandex. Most activewear is made from those materials. And I don't think it is common knowledge still. I think it's getting there, but I still don't think that a lot of people are aware of the potential health risks when you work out in synthetic activewear. A lot of us, it's such a staple part of our wardrobe. We wear it for long periods of time and very close to our skin. But a lot of the time, it is made with toxic chemicals like BPA. And I think these conversations, I think we need to have more of them. And I think Tripulse as a brand, I think you're doing really well in getting the conversation out to people in that very authentic and practical way. So I suppose for the unsustainable listeners, what do you think people should be aware of when they are working out in synthetic activewear? And let's be honest, I think most people do work out in synthetic activewear. I think natural activewear is still, as you know, I think it's still quite a new concept. And I think most brands do still use synthetic. So, what do you think that people, yeah, should be aware of that they possibly, in the mainstream conversation, is possibly not talked about enough?
Yeah. I mean, exactly like you say, I think it's still very the conventional, the standard in activewear is definitely the polyesters of the world. These are very common fabrics, like you said, nylon, polyesters, spandex, polyamide. These all fall under these typically fossil-based materials. And I mean, fair enough. They obviously have very good benefits also for activewear because they are oftentimes durable. They can take on a lot of, let's say abrasions and
High
whatnot. And so,
intensity.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So, of course, there's a reason why they're so popular in the industry. And I have full understanding for that. But as you exactly point out, I think a lot of people, and certainly not the brands, talk about what could be the possible downsides of these kind of fabrics. And so while they have benefits, they also have downsides, and it's the very things you cannot see with your eyes that oftentimes can be the worst things. And there's actually more and more research coming out that actually like studies that basically had these materials in labs and looked at what kind of chemicals can actually be found and to what extent, and are they actually harming health or not. And it's been found that a lot of activewear from also major brands that are sold, that are very popular for people, have
Yes.
shown very high amounts of certain harmful chemicals, such as BPA and PFAS, like so-called forever chemicals. They're very tricky because they can cause over time things like cancer causing, endocrine disruptors. They can disrupt hormonal balances, reproductive system. So can have very severe consequence of our health. And of course, it's also a matter of the dosage and many of these. So, of course, and especially forever chemicals, they can stay, they don't disappear, they don't eliminate. So they can also build up in the body and over time can cause certain harmful effects in the body. So that's why they're really tricky. And what's been also found that many of these chemicals can actually be absorbed by our skin. We shall not forget that our skin is the biggest organ. It's not just like a,
Yes.
like a bulletproof, cover around our body. It's actually a lot of things that can go through the skin membrane. And it's also found that these kind of chemicals can actually go through. And I find it very tricky, particularly when it comes again to movement in sports, where we usually sweat. And when we sweat, our pores open, which means it will get even easier for these chemicals to enter our bodies. And again, these kind of fabrics have been found, have often been found to carry these kind of chemicals. And are worn when doing sports. So that's why it's particularly worrisome. What I can also say, because now we talk particularly about activewear, not general clothing, a lot of brands also choose to add so-called finishings to their performance wear, such as additional moisture wicking, wrinkle resistance, and so to enhance performance, right? Which sounds really good, which makes clothing for the end consumer, when we read this, very attractive. But what we oftentimes don't know, it means that oftentimes harsh chemicals have been added to the clothing so they can actually have these features. But the price to be paid is that we have these chemicals on our body and they can go into our body and doing these harms over time. And that is something I find really worrisome. And even though we have, especially in the EU, we have, I think, one of the strictest regulation when it comes to chemical usage, but we still see a lot of fabrics and brands using way too high amounts of these kind of chemicals in their clothing. And so there's still so much work to be done to reduce and ultimately eliminate these harmful chemicals in clothing.
Yes, exactly. And I think for people who are listening to this conversation, I think that is very concerning and quite stressful to hear that a lot of their clothing, because most of us do have polyester in our wardrobes. It's one of the most commonly used fabrics in the world. So to have the knowledge that most of our clothing is injected with chemicals to improve things like performance and convenience, it's quite worrying. But I think my next question is then, how can people feel empowered to make better choices? For those that are listening and they're concerned about toxins in clothing and toxin exposure through clothing, what would you recommend? Those small steps that people can take, because it can feel so anxiety inducing and so
Yeah,
overwhelming to think about it. Um, in its entirety and sort of think, oh well, most of my wardrobe is filled with plastic based clothing. Like
yeah.
what do I chuck everything out? Like what do I do? So what do you recommend? What does Tripulse recommend um, in terms of what are the things that people should be looking out for when reducing toxin exposure through clothing?
Sure. Well, I think number one is really like what we talk about now, the awareness. I think that's really important. At the same time, I don't believe in health scaring, and now hearing that to become very frightened and so, because we share that. So I believe if we know better, we can do better. So it starts with awareness and then making steps to improve the situation without, feeling overwhelmed and feeling I have to now swap all of my clothes, because we know for that cannot be the reality for most of us, and is also not very sustainable. So exactly like you say, I think we all like should start with small steps that can go a long way. And what I recommend, and what we also generally recommend at Tripulse, is that we would definitely say to people, start with the clothing that are next to your skin, such as underwear or activewear as well, particularly because we sweat in that, and then the pores open, as I just mentioned, and try to find natural alternatives, such as organic cotton, certified, or tensile lyocell that we at Tripulse use in our activewear. But also make sure, ideally, that they're certified, because you can also have natural materials that can be also toxic, right? So there's also the dyes and the finishing that can also be applied to natural material. So I also want to make sure that natural doesn't always mean, it's perfect, it's clean. So
Yes.
also knowing that there are certifications such as Ökotech Standard 100 is a good one to look out, which basically tests for a lot of very harmful chemicals and doesn't allow, an occurrence of these up to a certain level. So it might still have a certain chemical, but to a very, very low extent, so that it is not harmful to human health. So I think that's one of the best ones that exists currently in the industry when it comes to checking for harmful substances.
And that's what you use at Tripulse, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, we have all our fabrics are also Ökotech certified, besides being also made from wood fiber, eucalyptus, tensile lyocell, exactly. But start with the clothing that touches your skin, like underwear and activewear. Start there, and then over time, I'm sure, a lot of us have polyester sweaters and jeans and whatnot. When it comes to the, toxic chemicals, the more they are washed, the less these chemicals usually stay. So in that sense, they become maybe a little bit less toxic. But of course, we still have this microplastic issue. But again, we usually don't wash as often, let's say, a sweater or jeans as we would wash underwear or activewear. So that's why start with these two things. I would highly recommend. And then, gradually get a feel. And I mean, the feedback we get from our customers and from me personally as well, I cannot think of going back to polyester, even if I would
Neither
know
can
about
I.
these, toxic chemicals or microplastic, because the feeling is just so much nicer.
Yes.
You really feel that your skin can breathe again. So this breathability, and also especially Tencel, lyocell, it's very naturally antibacterial and odor resistant, so it doesn't smell easily. So, you know, you can wear your shirts over and over again. So there are so many other benefits why it makes so much sense to use these kind of fabrics instead of the synthetics. So yeah, but then start there, and over time you can of course also discover interesting, you know, second layers made from these kind of materials. Hemp is also something to check out. Yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I think that, as you say, it's just starting, taking those small steps. And I think what you say at Tripulse, let's start with what's closest to the skin. That seems accessible to me and it seems achievable. But I know what you mean because, of course, I am fully converted to Tripulse activewear, and I feel like that's essentially all I wear. I've got Tripulse leggings on right now, and
Yay.
I do still have some synthetic leggings, which I wear when, you know, my Tripulse leggings are in the wash, which is not very often because they are naturally odor resistant. So I don't have to wash them that often. But when I do notice such a difference wearing synthetic activewear, I feel very trapped and smelly and my skin can't breathe. So it really has changed my day-to-day life. It certainly changed the way that I move my body and my performance. Um, and I think I'm sort of interested to know, because I you get lots of feedback from your customers about their experiences wearing synthetic versus trying out Tripulse activewear made with Tencel. Um, and has there been any stories that have really stayed with you? Because I feel, as I've said, from my point of view, I've got sensitive skin. I, as you have experienced too, like my skin reacts to synthetics very easily, and I get rashes, and I just feel generally uncomfortable. And is that the kind of feedback that you get from some of your customers? Yeah, what are the stories that have stayed with you, I suppose, and it
Yeah.
gives you that sort of reason to keep going, I imagine, and
Yes.
know that you are on the right track and you are doing, you know, you are doing the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, I must say these are the best nuggets, the best parts of my job, I would say, when we get these customer emails or reviews where I can really feel we're changing people's lives through our activewear, which is amazing. And there are definitely stories of people like yourself, maybe, who have very sensitive skin, and to the extent that they literally cannot wear any plastic, polyesters, etc. on their skin because they get eczema, rashes, outbreaks, hives, whatnot. So I have a good amount of stories and emails from customers who said that they had to stop doing the things they love. For example, boxing, a lady was sharing, because she had nothing to wear doing boxing, and she was looking left and right for a natural performing alternative for activewear, but for many, for a long time she couldn't find any alternative. Everything was plastic or recycled plastic. But then she stumbled upon Tripulse, she tried our activewear, and she said it was a complete game changer for her. She has no longer hives. She can start boxing again. It's the thing that, you know, gives her her life's joy, and she's back on that. And of course, hearing
Amazing.
how our activewear can, you know, help people enjoy life again, even though it sounds silly, like, you know, how can activewear make a difference? But it really can. There are actually many
Yes.
people. I read it's almost 50% of the global population have actually sensitive skin, and the trend is going upwards.
Wow.
And a lot of people I spoke to also say, yeah, my skin gets really rashy and itchy when I work out. But what I found interesting is that they kind of accept it. They think it must be like it when you do
Yeah,
sports.
I did.
And so was I as well. So that's really interesting. But then when I ask, you know, have you considered that clothing could be part of that, could contribute to it? They never thought about it. And so we have a lot of these people who then started changing what they wear when they work out and notice a huge difference and no longer have these rashes and skin can breathe and all of it. So that's, yeah, for me it's like amazing. Not only knowing that we don't contribute to, adding more toxins into people's bodies and the environment, but also, yeah, like helping people enjoy life again, being able to move freely and yeah, with joy is so cool, and yeah, really makes me get up in the morning with a lot of motivation.
Yeah, I think it's amazing because I do think that the majority of clothing that's produced nowadays, it doesn't serve us. It's not crafted with our well-being and our comfort in mind. And I think that's something that you're addressing so well at Tripulse, and you're kind of asking the question, what if our clothing improves our lives? Like what if it makes our lives better? And I think you're doing that through choosing healthy natural performance fabrics that are not injected with a myriad of terrible chemicals. You think about everything, you're so meticulous in the design, the functionality of your clothing as well. And I just wish that more brands were like Triples, because I think the world would be a better place if they were. I really
Yes, we
do.
hope
So
so.
yeah, so I think it's amazing. And so I think what I find really interesting, and what I think we've talked about this previously, like through our work with at Triples, is because I know that you say like a lot of your customers, they come to you because of a real need to, because of skin problems, because of their concerns about toxin exposure, they want to perform better. But with the way that sustainability messaging is going, because I do think at Triples you do have some like really die-hard sustainability advocates that are there with you, they've been with you from the beginning. But I think there's a trend, and I've read that there's a trend that with sustainability and the fashion industry, we've sort of hit a wall, as it were. And a lot of people are kind of wanting sustainability to be more a given with a product. And what they want, first and foremost, is a great product, and sustainability to be baked in as a given. And I read this really interesting Forbes article recently, which sort of touches on that, and saying that people have been hit too hard by the sustainability messaging, and the onus has been put too much on the consumer, when actually consumers want to feel safe. They want to feel like they're investing in a good product first and foremost. And I wondered if you've sort of noticed that with interactions you've had with your customers, like is it sustainability that they're looking for, or is it actually a great product first and sustainability second?
I think that's a super, super interesting question and observation there, and I can totally relate to it. As mentioned before, Tripulse is obviously exists because we want to create a healthier and more sustainable alternative to synthetic activewear. And so sustainability has been a key part of our brand DNA from day one and always will be. Having said that, I also have learned a lot about this whole sustainability communication throughout the years I've been working for Tripulse, with Tripulse, and developing and building it. And I can definitely relate to and confirm what you shared then, what Forbes also said, that I think, and obviously not only talking from Tripulse, but I have had so many other peer founders with me working within sustainability, sustainable fashion. Sadly, a lot of them also having to close down. And I think it's like a key realization is, I think a lot of people who start sustainable brands, they are hardcore sustainability, how you fans, and really, want to make the world a better place, which is beautiful. But we cannot forget that we are making products for people, and we're making
Yes.
products that should work. And so I think it's very important to always have the end user in mind, to make the best possible product for the end user. And when it comes to clothing, of course, it is the personal benefits the product will give to that particular person, which can be the performance, the looks, or even health and wellness benefits. Sustainability, I would say, it will be very important for these diehard fans, as you said, but the majority of people, they will appreciate that it is sustainable, but it's more, ideally, it's a given and it's a very nice to have, but it won't be the very reason why they choose that product in the first place. And I think for us sustainable brands, if we want to survive and thrive, we really have to understand that we should, of course, be very transparent and share all these amazing things we do with sustainability, but we for sure must also highlight the amazing benefit, why this product is really so good and how it performs and serves the end customer. I think that's really
Yes.
important, because if we only focus on sustainability, we're missing the point here. We miss really why the person buys it in the first place. And it really saddens my heart to see a lot of sustainable entrepreneurs having to close
Yeah.
down, because they kind of missed this messaging and kind of forgot to put the product in the center as well. And yeah, so I think this is very, very important. And of course, we have a lot of brands out there that have amazing products. Maybe they perform, they look good, but they're completely not sustainable. But of course, a lot of people buy them, right? So ideally, we
Mm.
come to a point where we have all these three things in place. They perform amazing, they look amazing, and they're totally sustainable as well. And I think when you are a brand who is truly sustainable and creates amazing products, we should not be shying away from, highlighting what we do in these different areas. And of course, also talk about sustainability. But it's quite simple. I think if I also, for fellow entrepreneurs or people who want to
Mm.
start a sustainable business, I think if you're always close to the customer, understand who's your target audience, what do they need, want, what are their pain points, and if you can solve for that, I think then you will always have a thriving business. And of course, if you make it sustainable, you know, I think you will be around much longer than your counterparts who are not sustainable. Yeah.
That's really interesting, Francisco. Yeah, so I suppose then my final question to you today is looking to the future, and what are your plans for Triples over the next few years?
Sure, we have many plans. One of them, of course, being, I mean, I'm already super happy. We get more and more adopters, and our community and customer base grows, which for me is a, good sign of impact, positive impact we can create in the world. But of course, I feel we only started on our journey, so I would want, yeah, through creating upgraded versions of our product, extending our product range, also, yeah, going into a few key markets even more. I would, hope and envision that many, many more people in this world can try and, love Triples and can start swapping from, yeah, plastic activewear to natural quality activewear. That's what I'm really excited about, and to really, like I said before, continue to, yeah, create the best possible products for our users, and yeah, make them fall in love with our product and the bigger mission we're pursuing.
Because I think a lot of what you're focusing on at the moment is education, because not a lot of people know about tensile lyocell, and the benefits of wearing that. So I think the more that you're educating people, I think the more that you will grow as a business too.
Totally.
And it's really, really exciting. And um, so, Francisca, I just want to say thank you so much again for coming on and speaking with us. And I cannot wait to just see Triples grow from strength to strength, and help people move and live better.
Thank you so much, Christie. It was amazing talking to you. Thank you for asking super interesting questions. And yeah, thank you also for doing all the amazing work you do with education and talking about these super important topics. So yeah, thank you for inviting me and giving me that opportunity.
Thanks, Franziska.
Thank you, Christie. Bye.
This has been Unsustainable. Thanks so much for watching. I'd love to hear what you thought. Like, share and subscribe.